through traffic, down the lane, runs up the shot. It's blocked. Anthony Edwards swats it away. Timberwolves control the loose ball. Conley will lob it up into the front court. Nikhil's got it. The horn sounds. The ball game is over. The series is over. For the first time in franchise history, the Timberwolves have swept a postseason series. They win it 4-0 over the Suns. For just the second time in franchise history, they're moving on to the second round. And it is just the third time in franchise history they've won a postseason series. 122-116 is the final as the Timberwolves move on to the second round of the NBA playoffs.
9 to noon is in the air on a Monday. I'm Paul Allen, the producer here at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. Your home for Vikings football is Eric Nordquist, and Maxwell Fuller guides the Great Ship Love Covenant from the 651 Carpets Plus studios at FM 100.3 KFAN. Nordo, Max, and yours truly off the sweep of the Phoenix Suns. Each of us, it is time to howl. Howl! Fan line continues for Maxwell. 9 to noon with this elite Timberwolves vibe continues on a Monday through Friday basis. And now we are very happy to chat with Micah Nori, the lead assistant coach for Chris Finch and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Mr. Nori joins us now. Micah, congratulations on sweeping the Phoenix Suns. My brother, to sweep a team with that kind of firepower is absolutely fantastic. Plenty of time to chat about that. How's Finchy off what happened last night?
Obviously, he's in good spirits. He, I guess it was confirmed it was the right patella tear, which is awful news for him. But yeah, but he is in good spirits, and hopefully that'll get cleaned up and fixed, and he will get well soon for sure.
And in the post-game press conference last night, you went full throttle hockey press conference on it when saying it was a lower body injury. I don't know if you knew exactly what it was at that time, but it reminded me of some type of interview we would be doing with a hockey coach or something like that, right?
Well, we have one of the best PR staffs with Sarah Perez and Aaron Freeman and our other people. But Aaron Freeman, as I was walking down there, told me, he said, it's not confirmed about the patella, so you can't go there. So I asked him if I could go just full hockey mode and say lower body injury, and he said that was okay. So that's a testament to Freeman keeping me in line on that one.
With Chris, so what happened? Did the knee get caught or clipped or we all saw it, but in totality, what happened?
It looked like, so I think Mike was driving the ball up the sideline, and Booker, they were down. I don't know if he was trying to take a foul, but he just or try to cut Mike off, but he bumped Mike, and it was very tight along the sideline where the three of them ended up being, and there was also the scores table in the front row of fans were right there. So when Finchy went to brace, the impact from Mike, and there was really nowhere for him to go. He was kind of wedged in between fans and the scores table and everything else. And then I think when Mike hit him and Finchy stepped back, it just was an awkward landing. And as great as an athlete as Finchy is, he just couldn't do anything about it.
How strange is the morning? I mean, it's you're sweeping the Suns, and then the Finch situation. You take over, you win the game, you learn exactly the complexity of what has happened to the head coach. Yet it's still jubilation and happiness from getting out of a playoff series. But then you wake up the next day and you're like, "Damn, what happened to Finchy?"
Exactly, and it was great. Right after the game, Tim Conley had told us all where Finchy was, and thought that and let all the players know we could go down there. So the players and staff went right into the exam room to celebrate with Finchy, and obviously the bond that he has with the players, and as excited as we all are as a staff for them, they were just as excited for us, and obviously for Finchy, but. No pun intended, but tough break there. The one thing that is good, I'm hoping, and I'm no doctor by any means, but with a week before we have to play, hopefully, we can get it cleaned up, stabilized, or whatnot, so that he can do what he does throughout this series.
And it's interesting, man, that you guys sweat Edwards' ankle, slow-mo's hip, and now it's Finchy's knee. I mean, just think about it. How does one fit a wheelchair between chairs on the bench if that's what it comes to?
Yeah, that's what I asked him. They remember the old looks like the scooter for the leg bent, whatever, rolling up and down the sidelines for sure.
Right.
But I think that one thing about Vince, we all know that. He's about as tough as they come. He will find any way he possibly can to be out there in any shape or fashion. And thankfully, it wasn't his mind. You know what I mean? That
Right.
got hurt wasn't a head injury. So obviously, legs are fixable. So, but he's still just be just as sharp and be able to do what he needs to do and put us in position to be successful. Whoever we play next round, whether it's the Lakers or the Nuggets.
And you speak of Chris Finch's mind. Can you imagine what diabolical schemes and sets he may come up with on a morphine drip?
Oh, there's no doubt, and they're probably, I guarantee it's probably already happened in this 3-hour flight that we're getting ready to embark on back home. He'll probably have all sorts of ideas. So there's absolutely no doubt that he will be able to come up with even more stuff that'll be fantastic.
I know, I know Chris is incredibly proud of the players, but from your standpoint, what are some things that make you super proud of these guys you coach?
Well, I think their resiliency, number one. I think when you look throughout the whole year, you're always looking for reasons to believe that you're going to have playoff success, and especially for a team that we hadn't really done it yet. But when you go back, I think we only had 3 2-game losing streaks the whole year and never lost more than 2 in a row. And point being, especially first round with home court advantage, if that holds true, then you're going to win the series, basically. So I just think that, that's number one. Number two, the fact that we did draw Phoenix after they just manhandled us, if you will, the first, in the regular season, 03, and to come out. We had a week to prepare. Corliss Williamson was the assistant coach that was the point person on that, and he and Elston Turner came up with a great defensive scheme. Obviously, Finchie co-signs on that and adds his 2 cents, but just and the way that it was implemented, number one, the way the players bought in, and then how they did it each and every night with the attention to detail for the whole series for 4 straight games. And Finchie always talks about it. Don't get bored with the basics, or don't get bored with doing something well. And that's exactly what happened. They held true to the game plan, even in that first half when we could not make a shot and Booker and Durant seemed to not be able to miss a shot. But you look up and you're only down 5. And you say, hey, we're 4 for 18 here, and if we can just continue to do what we've been doing, attention to that detail, we will wear them down and eventually walk them down, and that's exactly what happened. So, to me, the resiliency of this group is what I appreciate.
Micah, it's just a series, and you have 2 more to get to the NBA Finals. But through what we've all seen now in the first rounds of all these teams, you guys absolutely are the best defensive team in the NBA. And during the course of the season, via metrics or the eye test, for a fair amount, you guys were the best defensive team in the NBA, and it really went to bearing its fruit this series in the sweep of the Suns. But how about that effort last night late? When they started with Durant posting up Conley, then here comes the double, and eventually they turn it over to Jaden McDaniels. In watching that back multiple times, that's as good as one can play with on-ball defense and instincts, right?
Absolutely. That's the definition when people say your defense is on a string. So, I pull you, I go one way, you come with me, and you just saw the rotations out of it, and the higher angle that you're speaking with on the highlight of it it's just it was phenomenal to see. It's a picture perfect. It should go on a defensive teaching tape for how to rotate out of double teams or off of a baseline drive. And then to your point, to get down there and cut off the pass on the baseline, I think that led to a dunk by Ant at the other end, if I wasn't mistaken. But just again, the trust that those guys have, and it's very, very cliche-ish, but they know Rudy's down there. But even when Rudy was in the foul trouble, Kat and Kyle came in, and Nas and those guys, and the defense did not drop off at all, and those guys, and you got to give credit to Kat, obviously the 28 and 10, but he guarded Kevin Durant for 4 straight games, which might have been the biggest change that we made from a schematic game planning when we changed the matchups from the regular season and we put Kat on KD. And I understand KD scored quite a bit last night, but that's what he does. But us being able to put Kat on Kevin Durant allowed us to move Jaden over to Booker and then Ant over to Beal, and that was the difference, in my opinion, in the series.
Yeah, and with Karl Anthony Towns, I mean, it was as control, A to Z, not only in a game, but in the series and I've seen him all of his career here, as have you, granted the beginning part from afar, but him staying out of foul trouble, I mean, it's so key for you guys, isn't it?
No, it's absolutely. And I even think that even in game 3 here, he got into his foul trouble, but thankfully the start that he had at the beginning of the game, I think he scored maybe 8 of our first 17. And then that start of the third quarter, we hit the big 3 and had a couple other big buckets early before he got into the foul trouble. So when Karl Anthony Towns is on the floor, he is a major, major matchup problem for teams because you have to pick your poison. Are you going to double him in the post? Are you not going to let him score? Because they're usually guarding him with a smaller guy because he's at the 4 now. And bigger guys, he can go out on the perimeter. As you saw, they tried to guard him with Nurkic a little bit last night, so he's picking and popping. If they put a smaller guy on him, then he goes down in the post. So, he's so versatile. He's so offensively gifted that when he is on the floor, you put him with Mike and just the other pieces that go so well together, and Ant and Rudy and Jaden, and we are very, very difficult to match up against. And but Karl Anthony Towns, obviously an understated, out of foul trouble and on the floor for the Timberwolves is a great thing.
This is Micah Nori, the lead assistant coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Took over late after Finchie went down with the knee when he and Mike Conley collided right in front of the fans. And Micah and Chris met when they coached with Denver 7 years ago. And tonight, you got Denver trying to close out the LA Lakers. And I'm not asking you to like pick sides or pick favorites here, but I'd imagine you're pulling for LeBron and crew to win tonight to keep that series going, right? So more lab time for you and that staff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you want it to go 7 games, and I don't really, to your point, I don't care who we match up against, whether it's the Lakers or the Nuggets. The one positive, if the Lakers do win, is that you get home court advantage. So that's right. Obviously that's the positive. You'd rather have 4 home games than 3, especially as good as our home crowd has been, and especially as good as we have been at home. And I just got to add one thing, PA, just because I felt bad, and Finchie was ribbing me a little bit, but Finchie didn't win the Coach of the Year award yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was joking and needling me and said that it was because of the loss that I put on his record against Cleveland, probably cost him that award.
Right.
But, and then I felt bad. I mean, I was on the verge of tears, obviously.
Oh, come on, man.
Then he goes, and jokingly, and then he goes, and I told him, you don't have to go to this extreme to get hurt the last 2 minutes to make me feel good about myself to close out a 2-minute 6-point lead. I said, geez, what a guy, though, what a guy.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, now the ledger is clean because you had to come in out of the bullpen last night and close on a playoff victory. So
I would think so. If not, he should slide some more chips my way. I mean, this is a playoff victory that we closed out for him.
Yeah, understandable. Micah, Edwards went full superstar on them late. I mean, he's averaging 28-30 a game in the series, but from the Jordan-esque dunk to the Booker block and the defense all series on Beal. I mean, holy cow with this kid. What did you think?
Exactly what you said, just echoing that. But I just, you look at it today, when it's all said and done in this series, and he was at 31 points at 50% from the field and over 40% from 3. I mean, just the efficiency of which he did it. There's a lot of guys that, and there's an old saying that everybody's tough shot's not the same. Point being is that sometimes the moments get too big for guys and, the rim gets a little smaller. They get a little bit tighter. But Anthony Edwards is one of those guys that he rises up, and any time that there is a big moment, he's right there. And even at that, going into halftime, when we were down 5 and he had not, so I think he only had 11 points and wasn't shooting it that well, you felt really good because always, and we've seen it all 82 games throughout the regular season and these 4 so far in the playoffs, he's going to give you a run by himself in a spurt. And he obviously didn't let us down again with, I think it was 31 in the second half. But it's just amazing to me, and there's few and far between. And, you got to love it when you have them. But guys that can step up in big moments when the lights are brightest, whatever, all those things. But when it's amazing to me how he doesn't change. He's that even keel, and he just takes over the moment.
And Micah, you would know this better than me and all of us when it comes to leadership, specifically in the NBA. But I mean, you can dunk on Beal and or Durant like Michael Jordan. You can block Devin Booker's shot. You can hit threes and average 31 a game. But leadership's deeper than that, isn't it? It just seems from afar, and not being behind the scenes with you guys. Thus, I'm asking the question. Whether it's talking to Naz Reid during the course of the game, empowering Karl Anthony Towns before and or after games, and doing so publicly. I mean, he's really maturing as a vocal leader and absolutely a galvanizing force. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, not only with how he plays, but, and you said it, his actions, his relationships, and how he interacts with his teammates. And point being is that he's there early. He does his work. So number one, they know he's just not talking about it. He's actually doing it. So that helps them follow him as well. And when you have a guy that going into any moment in any game, and I mean, I think he said it the other day, my mission is to kill anything in front of me. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he's not telling guys what to do and not doing it. He's right at the front of it, and he is leading that charge. And then these guys, because of his personality, number one, obviously because of his skill level, but the way that they trust him and he holds them accountable and vice versa allows them to hold him accountable. That's what you're seeing his leadership skills come through. And just at 22 years old, we forget how young he is, just how much he's grown even in the 3 years that I've been fortunate enough to be around him.
And Micah, Grayson Allen, I mean, it's not the biggest reason you guys beat the Phoenix Suns, but holy cow, I mean, him not playing in games or leaving games with that ankle, I mean, it greatly impacts them, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. I mean, for sure. I mean, he led the NBA in three-point shooting, I think, at 46%. And the fact is, when he's on the floor, so instead of maybe Josh Okogie being out there when they went five smalls, and Josh is great in his own right as far as what he brings as far as defense and this type of thing. But what he's not is a three-point shooter. And what that allows us to do is it gives us a matchup for Rudy or for even Cat at times where if they go five smalls with all those shooters, then it's much more difficult for us to get out onto the perimeter. And now Rudy's in more difficult situations drawn out away from the paint. So just his presence alone and the gravity, we talk about that all the time, you and I, PA, about guys having to stay closer. So that opens up more driving gaps. The fact that if he gets a ball in the corner, it's going up as opposed to someone looking to swing it or not shoot it. So him being out, it obviously messes with their rotations. It obviously helps us because it gives us another matchup at the defensive end. But a huge loss for Phoenix, and you hate to see that for not only for Allen, but for their team.
All right, last two here. Thanks for the time, Mike. I know you guys are flying out relatively soon, thanks to Aaron Freeman, too, with Timberwolves public relations. Now, big week for Finchie, obviously, with the patellar tendon, could be surgery involved. You got the Nuggets and the Lakers this evening. Denver, is heavily favored to close it out tonight, but who knows? We'll see if the Lakers can jump up again and win. And my point being here, this week, up to the next series, from what you know now, Micah, how is your role impacted with Chris in this situation with the knee?
I think, first and foremost, I hope that he is able to go about it a normal way, like if they could either get him, I don't know, whether he's got a leg brace or something so he can get up and do what he needs to do. I think a worst-case scenario that I need to be prepared for is that he would have to sit maybe behind the bench just because with with his leg or whatever, or crutches and that. And so essentially he would be like the maestro just pulling the puppet strings, and I'd be like Pinocchio. I'd be the front man, but he'd be telling me what to do and what to say. Unless, PA, there comes a time when I act like I don't hear him and I want to try something. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, but make sure if you do that, you're not out on the beach with no sunscreen, okay? That's a Micah Nori analogy.
No, so if you see me standing at midcourt for an elongated period of time, that means that I'm in trouble and I'm trying to get out of earshot from him.
I mean, you might be up 16 points.
If that happens.
If you're up 16 points, you might get a tee just to get one,
and I'm going to tell him that goes on the head coach's allotment, not mine.
All right, and lastly, with your coaching staff, okay? And, you got Chris Finch, you're the lead assistant, but I want to ask about a couple of guys before we say goodbye, because what we just saw, off them beating you by 15.5 points per game in the regular season, and just that final game of the season at home when you're trying to lock the one, being a prisoner of the moment, that's what we knew. But now what we saw over a week and change was completely antithetical to anything we saw during the season. And obviously, there's more to it than Chris and you. So coaches have specific roles with you guys. What's key with Pablo Prigione's assistant coaching job?
Okay, so Pablo runs the offense, so the offensive side of the ball. So what his role in this series was, how is Phoenix defending us? Obviously, we all saw that they were putting two people on Ant every time he touched it in pick and roll. They were double teaming Karl Anthony Towns in the post. And so that's easy to see, and we can sit there and watch film and say, hey, they're doubling you, Karl. But what Pablo's really good is at Karl, when you get this ball in the post, this is where they're doubling from. They're going to double from underneath. What that means is Rudy's going to dive, and then that is going to free up the pass for you on the weak side. And we have to make sure that we are in the vision and you make the simple play. So not only is he just identifying the problem, he's giving them the solution and how to attack it. Same thing with Ant. There's going to be two people on you in pick and roll. You're either going to have Rudy in the pocket early. If not, if Rudy's not there, then that means they have to tag from the weak side because they're putting two on the ball, which means they're down a man behind it. So then the weak side corners most likely to be open. So just numerous film sessions just showing our team this is what they're doing, this is how we're going to attack it, and this is why it will work. So explaining the why from the offensive end was just as important as what we were trying to do defensively.
Same question, Corliss Williamson.
I told Corliss that he kind of must be taking a page out of Muhammad Ali's book with the rope-a-dope after he let them get all that confidence in the three regular season games to beat us as badly as they did, and then just to completely flip the script was a tribute to him. But what Corliss was the point person. And again, you talk about roles. So we all there's about 6 of us coaches that take teams, and what that means is you game plan for those specific teams throughout the season. Maybe we each have 5 teams or whatnot. And so Phoenix was Corliss's team. So he carried that into the playoff, and he spent, we all do, but my gosh, every time you go he'd be the first one in the facility. When we'd leave and turn out the lights, he's still in there. You come back, you didn't even know if he was going home for these 4 or 5 days leading up to this series, and just really honing in on the small details of what to take away, what they were trying to do. Obviously, him flipping the matchup or making the, making the observation or bringing that to Finchie about putting Cat on Kevin Durant because of the fact Durant's going to score 27 points, win or lose. Doesn't matter if Jaden's guarding him, if Cat's guarding him, if me and you are guarding him. So we were able to put Cat on him, and Cat did a phenomenal job. But what that allowed us to do is free up Jaden to move him to Booker and then move Ant off of Booker to Beal. And then Beal and Allen were the two that really hurt us in the regular season. I think Beal played 2 games, averaged 25 points. Allen played 3 and averaged 19. So those guys are basically combining for 44 points. So Corliss's idea was, put Cat on KD, make it as difficult as possible, but then let's take Allen and Beal out of the game by moving Ant to them, which really we were able to do. And so what Corliss did was he was the point person for all of that, did all the film sessions, pre-games with Elston Turner on the defensive side. And again, those guys did a phenomenal job.
So Elston Turner, in essence, is your defensive coordinator?
Yes.
Right. Okay. And finally, with the coaches, Joe Boylan, a name people aren't familiar with or don't hear much, but in previous conversations with Chris, I know he's incredibly key. What does he do?
So he kind of runs our whole player development segment. So he has himself, he's got Chris Hines, James White, Max Lefevre. Those guys are all under his wing as well. They all work together. And so what he will do is just kind of make sure that they all have players that they work with individually, and they will just let Joe know what they're doing there. And then what Joe will also do is when there's group things or group settings where everybody that's not playing the major minutes, they're making sure they get their work after shoot-arounds or after practices by playing games. We call them the SISL, the Stay in Shape League games. And so he will put those together. So and he keeps them engaged as well with different mental stuff that we have with Dr. Anderson and his group, the nutritionist with Jenna and her group, and then obviously strength conditioning. So all those guys all work together, and Joe is kind of the point person on the coaching staff when it all comes to that.
My man, thanks for the elongated chat. Congratulations on the sweep of the Suns. Best of luck in the next series, and I'm sure we'll chat soon, okay?
Thanks, PA. Always good to catch up with you.
I appreciate you, man. Safe travels. Micah Nori, lead assistant for Chris Finch. He had to fill in for Finchy last night because the head coach toppled. Devin Booker was a sneaky little shove into Mike Conley into Finchy's knee. Finch being the ultimate human of sacrifice. All right, let's rephrase that. All right, 3-2. Chris Finch, being the ultimate giver, decided he didn't want to topple into the fans. Didn't want any fans to get hurt, so he took it for the arena and has ripped up his patellar tendon, and there could be surgery this week. Micah Nori took over, and the Wolves swept the Suns. Now, the names Kevin Durant and Anthony Edwards were mentioned frequently during the course of that conversation. If you missed it, here's what KD had to say about Anthony Edwards after the game.
So impressed with Ant. My favorite player to watch. Just grown so much since he came into the league at 22. Just his love for the game just shines bright, and that's something that's one of the reasons why I like him the most, because he just loves basketball. He's grateful to be in this position. He's taking advantage of every opportunity he's gotten. Love everything about Ant, everything, and be watching him going forward. And you know he's going to go out there and play extremely hard every single night. But was really impressed with him. And it's going to be somebody I'm following for the rest of his career.
We've always loved Kevin Durant, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're on the fence about KD, now you're over that fence if you're an Anthony Edwards fan with, wow, was that glowing praise. Kendrick Perkins is a former NBA champion and a very, very outspoken, loquacious, and poignant with his commentary analyst for ESPN. After the Wolves swept the Suns last night, here's what Kendrick Perkins had to say.
Swept. They got swept. Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. Swept. One of the biggest disappointments in NBA history, if not the biggest disappointment in NBA history. Ain't no other way around it. And look, Bradley Beal, you don't need to be mad at Frank Vogel. You need to be mad at Anthony Edwards. That's who you should have took your frustration out, because he's the one that's been telling you what he's going to do to you, and he actually did it. To all of y'all, you, KD, and Book, he did it. The man averaged 38. The man averaged 38 at y'all crib. In 2 games at y'all crib. Walked in their shoes all muddy, standing on furniture, went in y'all refrigerator without asking, fixed them some Kool-Aid, and did whatever he needed to do. Man, look, the Timberwolves is real. Lil 89 Mike, he real. Carl Anthony Towns and Rudy holding it down. That defense is real. The boys probably going to the Western Conference Finals. Denver, y'all better get ready to strap y'all shoes up. But at the end of the day, here we go again, pointing the finger at Frank Vogel. Pointing the finger at Frank Vogel, because that team been lacking what? All season long? Leadership. They hadn't had one since CP3. And it showed. It showed. But guess who had them? Guess who had a leader? Minnesota. You know his name is? Anthony Edwards. And did it in great fashion. Man, y'all went outside, man. Cupcakes, cream in the middle. That was an embarrassment.
Cream in the middle.
Carry on.
Cupcakes, cream in the middle. Kendrick Perkins is howling. Woo! Kevin Durant is howling. 9 to noon is howling. And we would assume many of you are too. Thank you for listening to 9 to noon, which is at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, home to the Minnesota Vikings, which means Vikings inclusion today includes Vikes Bites around the corner. The 17th overall pick in the draft, Alabama edge, Dallas Turner joins about 1 hour from now. And new Minnesota Vikings rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, will be calling us at about 11 a.m. In the middle, Senior Vice President of Player Personnel, Ryan Gregson, joins us in studio here in Eagan for an elongated chat about the draft the Minnesota Vikings just completed. I'm Paul Allen. Nordo produces. Maxwell Fuller is guiding the great ship Love Covenant from KFAN. And we welcome you to the Love Covenant on a cloudy and a rather gloomy weather-wise Monday in the neighborhood. But we are here to provide verbal sunshine and also provide some cash. Here's Max.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword GRAND at KFAN.com now for your shot at winning. That's keyword GRAND. Enter it now at KFAN.com. We've got a JJ to JJ connection in Minnesota. Your Vikings took J.J. McCarthy in the NFL draft, and you can rep the new J.J. to Justin Jefferson connection with our new shirt. Just head over to KFAN.com/store to snag yours today. That's KFAN.com/store.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. It is time for, and here at TCO Studios in Eagan, and I know Jordan Struck is listening, Vikes Bites is brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Graze grass-fed beef. Whether you're shopping online, thousandhillslifetimegraze.com, checking out elite product, learning about regenerative agriculture, you can do that there, and a box of meat will show up at your doorstep, but also your local co-op or your Coburn's locations as well. So thank you, Thousand Hills. And I want to start here with a couple of, there's a really cool story, and Alec Lewis is all over this. So Vikings draft, it has indeed included, and I got a couple of names that intrigue me. But Saturday, Saucy and I are working 11 to 3, and limited picks, of course, FOMO on Friday, no second or third round picks. But right out of the gate on Saturday, pick 108, Vikings go defense. And they go with Kyrie Jackson, cornerback, Oregon. And I can't wait to flesh out more about who Kyrie is, where he came from, and how he got to the purple. Now, he ended his college career as all Pac-12 in 2023 for the Ducks, which is super sweet. Nice size corner, too. He's about 6'4", 200 pounds, so I dig that. And a guy that appears to fit right hand in glove with how Flores wants to operate his defense. But how about this? He started out at Fort Scott Community College.
Jeez.
Then he transfers, I think that was 2019. Then it's 2021 and 2022. He goes to Alabama. So now he's with the Tide. Now, things didn't necessarily work out well with Saban. I don't have the answers, but he was asked maybe to chill after playing 9 games. He was suspended in November of 2022. Don't have the answer for that, but he goes into the portal. He ends up at Oregon. Now, this from Alec Lewis on Saturday. He had quit football for a period of time, PA. He was bagging groceries.
Jeez.
And
it's the Kurt Warner route.
Yeah, and I love, you know, Alec rolls when he's whether he's with you 9 to noon or he's just tweeting. You can picture the smile on his face. He put on Twitter, he became Employee of the Month for his ham cutting ability in the deli. So Dan Barrera, it's already his favorite member of the Vikings.
That's awesome.
He almost became a pro in the 2K League, but he decided to return to football. And then Alabama and, of course, Oregon. Says he likes demolishing dudes. When he was picked by the Vikings on Saturday, he was at the mall. And he said, quote, I was in the store. I missed the first call. Then my phone rang again, picked it up. It was the Vikings. I told the lady in the store, well, I got to go. And I ran out. So that's your 4th round draft pick. As Saucy and I, when we were looking at it leading up to 108, I'm thinking there's some defensive tackles available, all of these things. But in the end, of course, getting better on defense, an A topic for this team from a not only a talent but a depth standpoint. And as we, slowly, we don't have all the answers on all these guys yet. But Kyrie Jackson, I'm intrigued by his story. And he's going to instantly come in and have an opportunity to compete for playing time among the defensive backs on this team.
Ain't no doubt. Shaq Griffin, Byron Murphy Jr., couple of veterans who would be favored to get 2 of those spots. Mekhi Blackman in his 2nd year, improvement is expected. Caleb Evans in his 3rd year, improvement is expected. Likewise for Andrew Booth Jr. Now Ryan Gregson, that's Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's right-hand man. He's the senior vice president of player personnel. He'll be on the radio show within the next 30 minutes, and we will ask him about Kyrie Jackson pretty much right out of the gate.
Absolutely, and we might ask him as well, like 17 undrafted free agents, and new regime, or not new, into their third year, of course, Kwesi and KOC and Mr. Grigson and everybody associated. But I remember at one point, PA, we'd be having conversations, and Rick Spielman would talk about the value of a 7th-round pick, because now you're not out on the market competing for the, financially competing, I should say, for the services of these free agents. When they hit me with this number yesterday, and by the way, it's not just we're waiting for news to trickle in into Sunday. The draft had been over, it felt like, for 20 minutes, and boom, we got UDFA signings.
Right.
And so I want to learn more about those 17 that weren't hearing their names called, but ultimately joined the Purple. Among them, and this has kind of been the steam over the weekend, PA, Ivan Pace Jr., possibly the best. He was all CUSA and Cincinnati's finest, but he was undersized, undrafted by the Vikings, comes in as a free agent, earns a spot, and now we love Ivan Pace. Is Gabriel Murphy, edge rusher, UCLA, this year's version of Ivan Pace? He's 6'3", he's 260. He had a 61 pressures last year, which was 7th in the nation. His 87.6 pass rushing grade, according to Pro Football Focus, was 28th among qualifiers, and just below first-rounder Dallas Turner. So, freak athlete, has a nearly 40-inch vertical. I believe that was second among defensive end prospects in the draft. So, he's an athletic freak, but his arms are kind of short. I love when you see these measurables. They're talking like he's Tyrannosaurus Rex here with his 30.5-inch arms. He's just an absolute athletic badass, but apparently his arms are a little short. But Gabriel Murphy might be this year's Ivan Pace, PA.
It plays into a question you asked last week. In fact, it might have been at the feast. The Friday feast is, okay, Dallas Turner may have some SOD to him, getting him at 17. There's not anybody in the NFL who thought he would go 17. But the young Gabriel is an outside linebacker, so he'll be coached by Mike Pettin, who's an assistant head coach, but also now outside linebackers coach, and it fortifies or gives the opportunity to fortify a spot that has some questions with Jonathan Grenard, Alex Van Ginkel, along with Andrew Van Ginkel, along with Patrick Jones, and now Dallas Turner. So there's gold in our hills if my man can perform, because there are opens with that spot. Now inside, I just thought of something. It's interesting with Van Ginkel. Well, Van Ginkel can play inside and outside, but Jeff Cashman and Pace inside. So the linebacking situation is starting to come together. Mike Saravo coaches the inside guys and Pettin the outside guys. So big opportunity for this UCLA product because there definitely are spots open, and maybe he'll win one like Ivan Pace did last year. Pete Bercich is analyst for the Vikings Radio Network. He joins us from TCOPC next. 47 in the neighborhood today, Eagan, Minnesota, and Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, your home for the Minnesota Vikings. This is a howl fest for the Minnesota Timberwolves, who just swept the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs, and also a post-draft recap day that we will do annually at your home for Minnesota Vikings football. And now Pete Bercich, the analyst, in-booth analyst for Minnesota Vikings Radio, he joins us to discuss amongst other things, the players the Vikings drafted, beginning with J.J. McCarthy, who joins 9 to noon at 11 a.m. today. J.J. McCarthy, about an hour and 10 minutes from now. Dallas Turner, the Alabama edge, he'll be on 9 to noon, 40 minutes from now at 10:30. Dallas Turner about 10:30. Then Kyrie Jackson, a fourth-round corner from Oregon. Then we get into the sixth round, Oklahoma tackle Walter Rouse, and Alabama kicker Will Reichard. Then offensive lineman Michael Juergens from Wake Forest in the seventh, and defensive lineman Levi Drake Rodriguez, seventh round, Texas A&M Commerce. And here comes the analyst. What's up, my brother?
Oh, not much. Just it's been a great weekend for Minnesota sports, I guess. For the Timberwolves. I mean, that's that's awesome for them. How about that? It's fantastic. It's been a long time coming.
So, Peter, is today for you a film like do you and Christian with the Vikings Entertainment Network? You guys get together and this is no, and I'm being serious here. This is no easy process when you go through film, because I see it during the course of the year when we're getting ready for X's and O's and or the one-on-one with Kevin O'Connell, things like that. The exhaustive process you guys go through to find the right clips to tell a story.
Right.
So from McCarthy through Turner and then the Oregon corner, is that what you're doing today? And what can we expect to see?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. You have to sit down and you look at the guy statistically, what games did he play well. It's just like, it's the same process. And this is where I think I always say coaching has helped me more do this job than than playing. Playing gives you an idea of what does it feel like to be this, and what does it feel like, and how you feeling it. With coaching, it's the same thing that you would do with when you were scouting guys. You would get a list of the players that you're responsible for. You'd watch 2 to 3 to 5 different games, and back then you had actual physical film, so you had to write down codes, and it was a ridiculous. Now you can just hit a single button to make a cut up. But you watch the player, and then you said, okay, this is what kind of guy he is, right? He's very physical, maybe not that fast, blah blah blah. And you have this idea, and you bring in plays that emphasize, good and bad, what this guy really is. Who are we really getting? Because there's going to be some things that guys do better than others, or some things that they can't do. And with some guys, it's like, okay, we'll take that. We'll accept the guy. Like Raynald Smith was an example of a guy who
linebacker.
Yeah, he had all the physical attributes, but he had makeup speed, and he could, so it's like, okay, if he's not the most aware person in the world, he can make up for it, and you're willing. So you have to paint that kind of a picture, because what's amazing is at this level, it's the differences that kind of define what the players are. Right?
Yeah.
This guy is this guy is that. Here are the differences, and you kind of figure out which one would you rather live with, and you go from there. But it's there's no easy way to do it, I guess is my point. And it's a lot of watching film, and it's if that's as bad as this job gets, then I'm good with that.
And I'm curious to see what you put out there at Vikings.com involving corner Kyrie Jackson, because like I hadn't heard of him before the draft. I've watched some highlights like a lot of other people have, but when I see Kyrie Jackson 6'3", 194. I mean, he's a big fellow. And the first thing I saw was, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as this guy, who happened to be a 5th rounder, by the way, out of Texas, San Antonio, but Rick Woolen with the Seattle Seahawks. I saw him, I'm like, wow, that reminds me of the Seahawks cat, but just not as thick, maybe 15 pounds lighter. Big chance for Kyrie Jackson.
And that's something I'm fascinated to ask Grigson about, is just, so this year at the draft, you have a lot of guys that are going to be 24, 25. I mean, Kyrie Jackson's going to be 25 by the time the season starts.
Wow.
He's only a rookie, and it took it was a 6-year process for him to get through college. Mm-hmm. Right, he went to junior college, and then he decided this isn't for me. Sat out, then came back. Then he switched to cornerback, and then he transfers and goes to Alabama. And his first start in college is the national championship game against Georgia. That's his first start. The following year, you expect him to build on it, and then there were some issues. I think he got some team issues where he was suspended for a while, and then he jumps in the portal, goes to Oregon, and then lights it up his senior year.
Wow.
Former wide receiver, so that I like that because of the ball skills. The only thing, if you're glad he's a wide receiver, he's got the ball skills, then you're like, okay, but does he like to hit? Because that's kind of the other side of that coin. And apparently he is physical. And in this defense, Paul, we ask our corners to tackle in open space, one-on-one, more than any other defense in the league, right? We put all these guys in the line of scrimmage. What does that do? It puts all the guys behind them on islands, and that's why Cam Bynum, if Cam Bynum intercepts all the balls that hit him in the hands last year, he's in the Pro Bowl, no question. He had opportunities to intercept 7 or 8 footballs, and so in the beginning of the year, he just one-on-one coming down in space, and if he misses this tackle, it's a huge play. So there's a lot of stress put on those guys that way, and he's long and physical and likes to get up in the face of receivers and jam. I guess he's very, very competitive. Question is if that love for football has come back, and it took him just a little while longer than normal to get here, he could be, he could be a starter. He could be a very good football player.
His history was made on several fronts in the first round Thursday when we were at U.S. Bank Stadium. 14 consecutive offensive players were taken to start the draft. That's historical. Crazy. 6 quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks. With the latter, 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks, I mean, I'd be willing to predict that'll never happen again. I mean, it's a long shot that ever happens again.
Yeah, and again, that goes back, I think, to the COVID thing, because you had, Drake May and McCarthy, who were 21-ish, right? And then you have Michael Penix, who's been around for a long time. I'm not sure how old Bo Nix is. He's up there, though, I think.
Similar, 23, turning 24, I think.
Right, so you kind of had 2 drafts muddled together in that respect. So I think that's why you had 6 quarterbacks taken, and the wide receivers too. I mean, I think teams are looking at the free agency now and saying they're lumping wide receivers in with quarterbacks, saying we cannot afford to pay second contracts on wide receivers anymore, so we're just going to draft them.
Yep.
And now when you look at the list and you see quarterbacks and wide receivers, wow. It was so one-sided, and that's why it was so great to see the Vikings pivot and say, all right, this draft, no one expected, we saw it, Paul, I don't know how many mock drafts and how many people you listen to, nobody expected the first 12 to 14 picks to just be all offense. So what does that mean? Well, that means you can get the pick of the litter on defense, right?
Yeah.
And on Friday, too.
Yeah, you had
a lot of value being pushed into.
Latu is the first defensive player picked, and people love him. It's just you don't know about the neck.
Yeah,
you had no idea what
Think about the corners.
I
mean, the Alabama kid and Mitchell, Mitchell and Arnold.
Arnold.
They absolutely, and some other corners slipped to places that nobody thought they would be.
Right. So that's kind of those taking advantage of value. I can get the number 1 pick on the board defensively because they all slid down, and it was great to see the Vikings kind of respond to that. And I said this, I think by the end of the night, if I walked in the stadium and you said we're going to walk away with Dallas Turner and JJ McCarthy, I would have said McCarthy was the one that slid.
Yeah, and
he was just hanging out on the board, and he made it all the way to 23.
Right,
and we picked him there, and we would have had to have picked Dallas Turner with number 11.
Yeah,
because he was going to go. Everybody thought he was going to go to Atlanta.
Right? He should have went to the Falcons at 8.
Everyone's saying, all right, he's going to, forget, just take him off the board. Don't even watch film. Don't even worry. He's gone. He's not going to make it past 8.
Yeah.
And then they come up and pick Penix, and we're all just like, whoa. And then that's been a talker, obviously, too. So, but it's just great to see the team respond that way in the front. And for Kwesi, I mean, he's been moving and making things. He's been quietly doing his job this year. Holy cow, kaboom. Talk about a first-round bomb.
And his right-hand man is Ryan Grigson, Senior Vice President of Player Personnel. He's scheduled to join Pete and yours truly next segment from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. You're listening to 9 to Noon.